Hello, my name is Mati and welcome to Estonian Real Podcast. My today's guest is Dr. Leena Hilakivi-Clarke. Dr. Leena Hilakivi-Clarke is Professor of Food Science and Nutrition in the Hormel Institute. Her research involves studying the role of dietary factors in affecting breast cancer risk and mortality. She investigates how maternal diets and obesity during pregnancy can pre-grow offspring risk of developing breast cancer, focusing on persistent change in the offspring's epigenome, gut microbiota, and inflammatory pathways. These interventions include bioactive compounds in foods such as genistein and vitamin D, beneficial dietary fats, or traditional anti-inflammatory herb mixtures. Dr. Hilakivi-Clarke collaborates closely with experts in computational modeling and has several past collaborations with epidemiologists to translate her preclinical findings to the clinic. Dr. Leena, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So let's jump into, and the first question is that, so what is cancer? Because my understanding is that the general understanding is it's like a rapid growth of cell, but there also that there's a connection with the fungus. So can you elaborate what the cancer is?
Yes, so the fungus is something that was very, very recently discovered, and actually few people who study cancer are aware of these findings. So cancer is abnormal growth of the human cell. Like I study breast cancer, so it is all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but the normal breast cells start to divide without any control and form a tumor. So what is the fungus doing there? And in other cancer sites, nobody knows. And it's not perhaps surprising because we know that there are lots of bacteria too in cancers and all over our body. So having fungus there is fungus is also other. It causes the yeast infection, for example, one type of fungus. So we also have lots of fungus. Why is it in cancer? It's not clear. These two studies that were published about this suggest that if it's there and if there's lots of it, it somehow helps the cancer so that the person having the cancer is less likely to survive.
So what you talked about bacteria involving is found in the near or inside the cancer. What kind of bacteria are we talking about?
So the human beings are composed half of human cells and half different kind of bacteria or microbes. Most of the microbes are bacteria, and there are many different categories of bacteria, and most of them reside in the gut. And why we have those bacteria is they help. There's like an interaction between the human cells and the bacteria. So we help the bacteria, and the bacteria are essential for us. And for some reason, they are also in different outside the gut, not as much as in the gut, and they are just not any specific bacteria, but all kinds of, and it depends on a person what kind of bacteria he or she has. Like we know that our human cells are 99.9 similar, how we are put together, but the gut bacteria is only 10 to 20% similar. So you have very different than I do.
Come back to cancer is that, so what is the real cause of cancer? Is it like more like dietary? Is it determined by what kind of food we eat or what kind of chemical we exposed, or what is like general cause of cancer, let's say?
It's something goes wrong with the normal cell and it starts growing without control. But what causes that? So people were thinking that cancer is inherited disease. So there's a problem with the gene, and for some reason that problem becomes manifested and then the cancer starts to grow. But now it's known that that is only very small minority. So carcinogens definitely are involved. So we know that most of the people who get lung cancer are smokers, but only 15% of smokers will get lung cancer. And it's not known why some people smoke through their life. Like 85% of people who smoke never get lung cancer. So it's not so simple. That's just an exposure to a carcinogen and boom, we get cancer. And that is because we have very good, the cells are very clever in defending against different carcinogens or radiation or other things that are in our environment that can threaten the normal cell function. So they can either repair the damage that happens, or then if they cannot repair it, they commit suicide. The cells just die. And then that prevents the cancer from starting, because the cell that underwent this attack and could become a cancer cell no longer is there.
So pretty much the healthy cells, if it becomes like cancerous, should able to kill itself, so to protect the whole.
Yeah, so because we are all the time, our body is exposed to all kind of threats from the environment, and we just can repair it. And if we can't repair, then the cancer cell undergoes cell death. But one of the factors that causes the cell then not to die or repair itself, so if there is the mechanism that causes the death is impaired, it doesn't function properly, then the cancer cell can start growing.
But what can cause this defense mechanism to misfunction? It's like lack of nutrition or something that
So
blocks it.
it could, yeah, that could be one factor. It could be that because there are all the time these mutations going on, and it just happens to cause a specific kind of a mutation that then, and perhaps more than one mutation that helps then the repair machinery or the cell death machinery to not to function anymore. So the nutrition can be part of the, so it cannot by itself cause cancer. Let's say if you eat something, and like the smoking is a very good example. It can increase the risk, but it cannot by itself. And then several things have to go wrong at the same time for the cancer to be initiated. And immune system is also one of the defense mechanisms that as soon as there is the cell becomes foreign for the human, it starts behaving abnormally. It sends message to the immune system, and the immune system cells rush to the where the damage has happened, and they can also kill the cancer cell.
Like I said, that nutrition is like one part, but they kind of remind me the last post Thomas Levy talked about also that take care of your nutrition and take care of your physics, but if you don't care about take care of your like dental work or what happens in your mouth, then pretty much same thing, that if you don't see the big picture, then sorry, but if you do, and don't do the little things, then that will not help you to get rid of, stay healthy. You need no more.
Yes, and oftentimes people think that we are eating something that is bad for us, but it is probably more like we are not eating something that we need. Like people thought that eating meat is very bad, but what happened was that people who ate lots of meat didn't eat fruits and vegetables. So it was the lack of them because they have this ability to help the human cells to fight against all kind of threats. That it's not necessary that there's something in the meat that is bad for us, but it is that then we don't eat what we are should be eating that would help our body.
But right now, the like lots of say debates about different diets. Like one like the plant-based diet is very popular. The keto is very popular, but like very good. Like but main issue is that they don't see the big picture. The best
Yeah.
advice I have received from critics that what they have on in English common is that remove the refined sugar and the processed food and tell and go and then like body will start like heal itself and then go pretty much like remove the bad stuff and that's figure out what is good for me. And
So it's more that it's not good idea to eat too much processed meats, and then it's not enough just to get rid of them. It's more important to have these plant foods.
when I talk about how a cancer, let's go back with the cancer. We talked about what kind can cause cancer and what is like different variables that can cause it. But is there like a certain environment that cancer can exist? That one thing I heard about why people like come to plant-based diets that it turns your body more alkaline and cancer can stand in alkaline environment and that's why you need to eat, if you have cancer then you not have to eat like plant-based food.
So that's probably comes from the observation that cancer grows in the acid environment. And so if you prevent that, then you prevent the cancer. But there is no evidence to support that. So yes, cancer environment is acid, but if you eat foods that are very alkaline, like I have a very pH, is that high pH when it's alkaline? So that
Yes,
would
yes.
there is the studies that have looked at that haven't been able to show that what you eat will change the pH in the tumor.
We can like right now this is kind of a theory not can and some people like okay we think that maybe the cause but we're not sure.
Yes, it's I I don't think that any one thing is the cause, and just changing any one thing will be helpful by itself.
When it comes to cancer, what we need is a like very stable and environment and very specific conditions for cancer. Like I said, the acidic environment is one thing.
But the
But
acidic environment is not what causes the cancer. It happens when the cancer starts growing and
okay,
takes all the nutrients from the normal cells and the immune cells too. And consequently, the pH goes down. It's a symptom of the cancer.
okay.
So, like, I don't know if you know the dogs that can sniff cancer.
I've not heard about them.
Yeah, there are some dogs that can diagnose that the person has a cancer. So they might be, I don't know, this is just occurred to me that they might actually sniff the acidity in a person. I don't know how they can sniff the presence of cancer, but there definitely are some particular dogs can be trained to detect cancer. Like they were using dogs in the airports to figure out who has COVID and who doesn't. When the changes happen in the body, the pH changes, but the pH change is not the cause of cancer or viral infection.
Okay, so pretty much what you said that when it comes to cancer, we're too much focusing on the symptoms and that the real cause of cancer is like still a mystery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or there are different, like viruses can cause cancer. Like the HPV virus can cause cervical cancer, and that is highly preventable by giving vaccination against that virus. But it has to
Okay.
be given to young people. I think that it's teenagers that they give it. They give in the US it's standard.
It's like 13, 14.
Yes, and so, but some parents don't want to have their kids vaccinated because they associate it with sexual activity, and they think that if they don't vaccinate their children, then the children will behave. But that's not necessarily true. So it's been very successful, the vaccine, in preventing cervical cancer that is caused by the HPV virus.
Okay, let's continue with vitamin D. That one thing I read about from the one Estonian health books that talks about different minerals. So she points out that vitamin D can effectively cure cancer.
So vitamin D has these properties that I don't know whether it can cure it can't by itself, but it can help the process if one gets treatment for cancer, radiation, chemotherapy, hormone therapy. There are lots of different therapies. So the vitamin D, for example, it can boost the cell death. It can help the immune system so that the immune system can kill the cancer cells. So it can help the processes that are normally functioning and then don't function anymore when the cancer starts to develop.
So what is vitamin D? Okay, I understand that there's like some properties that can help to defeat diseases, but what exactly is?
So vitamin D is a vitamin, and we have the precursor in our skin. And when we get sunlight, then it becomes activated and it becomes vitamin D, which is called VD3. But we can also, it's also present in some foods, and some foods can be supplemented. Like I think milk, cereal, they are often supplemented or fortified with vitamin D. And it doesn't matter if the vitamin D is coming from through the sunlight or if we consume foods. So foods that naturally have vitamin D is like fatty fish, salmon, and mushrooms also have vitamin D.
There's like one type of vitamin D, or there's like multiple types of vitamin D that
I'm aware of two types. The it's called VD3, and that's the vitamin D, and then we normally refer to, and then there is also vitamin D from plants, that is VD2. That is not effective for humans.
okay, why is not effective? What's the problem with them?
It's just I think it works for the plant, but it doesn't work in the human. So if you take vitamin D supplement, be sure that you take VD3, not VD2.
The book mentions thing that there's like a synthetic version of the vitamin D as well, but that will neutralize vitamin D3.
So, when we get the vitamin D, it will be metabolized to different metabolites. And for example, when people are doing studies, animal studies, where they are looking if vitamin D helps to eliminate cancer, then they use this form that is called 125 vitamin D. That is the last metabolite in the vitamin D metabolic chain. And it's very strictly controlled, and it can affect through the feedback the other metabolites. And it's also can be toxic. So that's why it's better to take the VD3 and let the body to metabolize it rather than take this highly metabolized form. It can cause hypocalcemia, which is not good.
What is hypercalcemia?
It means that your body has too much calcium. It becomes very stiff, and the blood vessels become stiff, and your muscle becomes stiff, and the animals die if their calcium levels are too high.
So if I
And
take this,
can happen for people if they take it.
if I take a wrong form of vitamin D, then I will risk getting poisoned by calcium.
Yes.
That's good to know.
So that's why it's best to take you can take quite a lot of the vitamin D3 because the metabolism is very strictly controlled. So your body doesn't allow you to make too much of the last metabolite, which is actually the one that binds to the vitamin D receptor. So it just makes enough to activate the receptor, but too much is not good. So there's a feedback loop that leads to that the processing is stopped if there is too much. But if you take it directly, then that's toxic.
How much vitamin D we talking about? You told that you take too much will become toxic. How much?
No. If you take vitamin D, it's the body can eliminate if there is an excess. I guess you can take too much if you take a lot, but earlier people were told take 400 international units. Now it's clear that I don't know whether Europe has the same measuring system. Probably no. Then it was okay, 800. Sorry, I can't. I don't know how to convert it to the. I know that my parents in Finland they use a different measures for vitamin D, but so now people who believe that vitamin D is good for them, like physicians, they take 2,000 per day.
Okay, our Estonian say official medical guidelines say that you have to take say 1,000 international units per day, and 2,000 becomes toxic. But also one of my friends who studied nutrition told me that Estonians need to take 10,000 units per day. And some guy also in Estonia but lives in Sweden, he told that we need take 15,000 units per day. And so like I would say that in Estonia it comes to official guidelines and then what we're supposed to do, it's kind of like they're like big gap, I would say. But so what we should say based on your research,
So
yes,
I
continue.
think during the winter time 2,000.
Okay, why?
And summertime, try to be outside and not to put too much suntan lotion. So you have to be outside when the sun is not directly damaging you. In the morning, in the evening, you get still lots of vitamin D.
Mm.
But lots of people, they overprotect themselves with the all these suntan lotions, and so then consequently they don't have enough vitamin D.
Is it like one part is that being scared of getting sunburned by the sun, like
And skin
they
tone.
overdo it? And
So if one is in the beach or working outside in the middle of the day and there's no shade, definitely one has to have a suntan lotion to prevent the burning. But when one is in a shade and it's not the direct sunlight, or it's before 10 a.m. or after, is it 4 p.m., then there is not that much need of the.
in sunlight, like they produce there's two types of ultra UV radiation. Is one is A, one is B. Which one is mostly needed for producing vitamin D in your body?
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember the difference. So the P is the one that can burn, right?
I think so.
Yes.
Maybe.
I don't even remember what's the difference between the A and P. I think one is less toxic, is less likely to cause skin cancer.
Okay. So yeah, let's leave it that. Okay. Okay. One thing also that in the book I read that is point out that if human, if say European the white man stays in sunlight like in summer day for 15 minutes, he gets like 1,000 units of vitamin D. But the black guy has to stay 5 to 10 times longer to get the same amount. So is it like more to do with the skin?
Yes, the pigment. The whiter the pigment of the color, the more effective it is converting the precursor in the skin to vitamin D. And if you have a very dark skin, it's not very effective. So like African Americans here in the US are much more likely to suffer from vitamin D deficiency.
So what vitamin D deficiency can cause? That I now understand that they like can cause asthma and some other illnesses.
It's been linked to so many different things because it actually helps the stem cells from bone marrow to differentiate into different kind of cells. So it can cause, it's important for the bone. That's well known. It's also important for muscle function. It's important for cardiovascular function. It's important for the immune system. It's important for also for mood. So, for example, older people, they get diagnosed with depression, and sometimes it's because they are vitamin D deficient. They are just home, they don't go out to sunlight, and their diet doesn't contain enough vitamin D. And they are supplemented with vitamin D, and the depressive symptoms disappear. Vitamin D deficiency has been linked to multiple sclerosis. Physician, like I have a friend who is specialist for multiple sclerosis treatment, and he gives his patients vitamin D supplements.
So how big doses we talked about? 10,000, 50,000, 20,000?
He just told me that he uses himself 2,000. So I think that's what he gives to his patients. That brings the vitamin D levels to normal levels.
Okay, is it like there a connection between vitamin D deficiency and flu that we get every year?
It could be part of it. So to reduce your risk of getting a flu shot, but then also having sufficient levels of vitamin D. There are so many things that help the immune system. There are lots of things, like the plants have lots of anti-inflammatory compounds, but vitamin D definitely helps. Like if I myself I'm feeling that I might get even cold, then I just take lots of vitamin D and or not lot, but I take supplements.
I think also that they point out that even though people take supplements, they still you should go outside for like maybe 30 minutes per day. Because one advice I received that take as much you want, but it doesn't replace sunlight.
Yes, and being outside is very good for us, I think. I don't take any vitamin D during the summertime, even though I live in Minnesota, which is even further north than Finland is, because I don't actually think it's further north, but it's very cold here. And because I'm so much outside, I find it very relaxing being in the nature and being outside.
I think kind of relates back to I would say, what our ancestors did, that they were outside most of the time. And one thing I think people don't understand is that you cannot write with analysis, you cannot rewrite in nature. You are what you are, and in order to rewrite nature is that you have to take many generations to do it. Then maybe can stay inside the room much longer. But okay, one thing I have heard that like say that I say that human immune system cannot be strengthened. That it is what it is, and but there's like another school of thought that say no, yeah, you can change it, you can strengthen it, you can improve your body to function better. So what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I definitely think I haven't heard that the immune system cannot be improved, because vitamin D will improve the immune system. Um, People think that, for example, vitamin C improves the immune system and helps uh, to protect against cold, let's say, and because physical activity improves the immune system, eating healthy, being physically active, that improves the immune system, and being with friends and interacting with others improves the immune system.
Okay, well, I read one book called Never Be Sick Again by Raymond Francis. Have you heard about it?
No.
His school of thought is that they're like one cause of diseases, and that is misfunctioning cells, that our cells don't function properly. And he gives what is like two reasons. One is too much toxins, and the other is lack of nutrition. It comes back to the idea that you need to get body what it wants. If you get all the nutrition your body gets, you will be healthy. You don't need to worry about getting sick. And one of the solution or how to get it is that is a psychological or psychological pathway included me being with your friends, family, talking with people, interacting with them, and also laugh. That you watch funny movies and it boosts your immune system for some reason.
Yeah, so one of the studies I have been doing is looking, social isolation. Would people think that it's individuals who are in prison? But no, social isolation is, for example, COVID-19 caused a huge increase in social isolation. The kids are now suffering because they haven't been able to hang out with each other. Uh, and that is shown to be equally bad to our health as smoking or being obese. So, and being lonely causes deaths as frequently as smoking. So if you are lonely, you are much more likely to get a heart attack or stroke. And if you get that, you're much more likely to die of them than if you don't feel lonely. It's the feeling of loneliness that makes it. Some you don't have to have a humongous network of friends. It's just if you feel you are connected to something. It could also be connected to your dog, or particularly if you talk to your dog, but it just has to be. Humans need that social, like the feeling of being connected to others. And if they don't, their health suffers. How that happens, it's not clear. We have been looking gut microbiota. You know, when we are stressed out, we feel stomachache, or we feel that we want to eat lots of um, French fries or uh, chocolate or ice cream, or then we don't have any appetite. So there is this connection from the brain to the gut, and so brain sends a signal to the gut, but the gut can also send a signal to the brain, and they then affect the gut microbiota composition. And the gut microbiota is the largest immune organ we have. And if the microbes are not what they should be, then the immune system is impaired. And that could be the factor. And they also affect how the cells use energy. And if the gut microbiota is bad, then the cells don't get enough energy to, for example, fight against all the assaults we are exposed to from all kind of things in our environment. So that could be like I myself believe that gut is very important in maintaining the human health.
Okay, why is that?
Because the bacteria, they are, if you think they are the largest immune organ, they produce most of neurotransmitters. Then they generate these metabolites that help, for example, short chain fatty acids, that are the receptors for those are in the immune cells, in blood vessels, in epithelial cells, and they help their function.
And at the digestive system, there are like lots of bacteria. Does the existence of bacteria, what kind of bacteria are in the digestive system, influence what we want to eat or not?
So because we have so many different kinds of bacteria, when they interact with each other. So one bacterial type can have different functions, and several different bacteria can have similar functions. So there is people think that, okay, you know, probiotics like Lactobacillus bifidobacterium, people think that if they take those, that is helpful for their gut, but not necessarily, because it depends what you have in your gut. So the bacteria interact with each other and make each other happy and keep each other balanced. And it's the misbalance, or we call gut dysbiosis, that is harmful for the human cells, because now they don't anymore function effectively.
Have you studied vitamin C as well?
Yes, I have studied
Okay.
vitamin D. I have studied in connection with obesity, because obesity creates this low-grade inflammatory environment, and obesity is linked to type 2 diabetes, it's linked to many cancers, and one reason why the obesity may cause these diseases is because of the inflammatory environment. So we did a study where we gave mice diet that caused them to become obese, and then we supplemented it with vitamin D, and we were able to prevent ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer. We studied it some time ago, so it prevented the adverse effects of obesity on the endometrium. And
did you study the vitamin C as well, and what the effect?
Yes, we gave vitamin D, and that prevented the obesity from increasing endometrial cancer. And we did studies also with breast cancer. We looked at obesity, and we were able to prevent the obesity from increasing cancer risk if we also gave them vitamin D.
Vitamin D can help reduce the cancer. But have you made studies with vitamin C?
I haven't done studies with vitamin C, but I know that some people think that vitamin C is very good. Vitamin C is water soluble, so one has to take a lot of it. Whilst vitamin D is fat soluble. So in obese individuals, they have very low vitamin D levels because the vitamin D gets stuck into the fat and doesn't get out of there and help with the normal function. So that's why an obese person needs to take much more vitamin D than a lean person.
Why I ask about, you mentioned about vitamin C. The individual I talked about was studying vitamin C, and you also for him vitamin C was universal like medicine, because it has like no upper limits, and so you can take as much you want, and lots of health benefits. Okay, we talked about cancer and vitamin D, but you also mentioned something nutrition as well. But in your research you have done 1 second. Yes, is there a connection between what kind of food you eat and and the cancer?
Yeah, so when I started doing studies in cancer and nutrition, people thought that high-fat diet was very bad for you, and they thought that particularly in breast cancer, that explained why in some countries the breast cancer risk was much higher because they ate much more fat. But then now it's known that that's not necessarily the case, that it's not the fat doesn't do too much harm, but when it's the mother is eating it when she's pregnant, lots of fat, or if she's obese during pregnancy, that's very bad because it programs the offspring to have a weaker immune system and causes metabolic changes in the offspring. But otherwise, I think that, as I mentioned before, that it's not necessary that certain foods are bad for us, but we are missing something that we should eat. So, like you were interviewing a person who thought that vitamin C is very important. So yes, vitamin C is part, vitamin D, then phytochemicals. I think that soy foods are really good. These isoflavones are very effective in reducing inflammation, normalizing the metabolism, so reducing insulin resistance. The problem with the breast cancer is that when one has a breast cancer, and it's an estrogen, they are estrogenic compounds, you don't want to start eating soya foods when you get the breast cancer, because that might promote the cancer to grow. But before, soya foods are really good.
Okay. So that some food like soya food that have something in it that may cause cancer. Okay.
No, they don't cause cancer. They help to prevent the cancer because they boost the immune system. They help with the cell metabolism, and they affect the cellular pathways in a way that helps to fight against the cancer growth.
Okay.
But if the cancer is already present, in addition, because they are estrogenic compounds, they may make the cancer to grow more.
Soya food can like prevent cancer, but if cancer already in presence, you should stop because it may help to go forward.
So actually, studies that have looked, for example, women in Asia who eat lots of soya foods, or then some don't, and they found that if they get breast cancer and they continue consuming soya foods, they are much less likely to have a recurrence of the breast cancer. So it has also been shown in the Western countries. So those women who eat soy foods, even though they don't eat as much as Asian women typically consume, if they continue consuming soya foods after breast cancer is diagnosed, they are less likely to have a recurrence.
Is there like a difference what kind of soya food they eat? That is like is there like a special way to say in Asia they process the soya like very differently from compared to European, so that's why I asked that it's like different.
So the studies haven't specifically looked at that, so I don't know, but I would think that it's probably the Asian way of preparing. Like I myself love the edamame beans.
Okay.
So I don't eat too much tofu and for example, if it's supplemented like a nutrition bar, I don't know how similar is it to the actual soya food. I think they often take the protein and not necessarily the phytochemicals.
It studied also the maternal food, that the food the mother consumes during pregnancy. Does this what kind of food the mother consumes? How it affects the fetus or child later development?
So people think that it's through these epigenetic changes, that because the epigenome gets programmed during early development, that the environment affects how it gets programmed. And if it gets programmed, like for example, if genes that normally help to protect the cells are not being expressed because they are epigenetically silenced, then a person is more likely to get cancer. So even though it happens during fetal development, it can last throughout the life.
Is there any reason why this happens?
Because the epigenome, why it happens, it's the environment, like the high fat food alters the enzymes that cause genes to be methylated or not methylated to be altered. And the methylation and how histones are regulated, they affect if the gene is being expressed, meaning if it generates protein or if it's silence. So it's like it's not there. Sorry, scientists talk
that's okay.
complicated words, difficult to explain.
I think I have finished with my question. That before we finished, what advice you give for the listeners that what you can do to like prevent cancer or improve the health one way or another?
So it's very general. It's eating right, being physically active, and being with friends or family.
Okay. Dr. Leena, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, and hopefully I can speak you one in the future.
I would be happy to talk to you again. Thank you.